Amen. So this morning we're starting a sermon series on family matters because we believe families matter, and so we are going to talk about that. And when I think of families, I think of a home. When I think of the home, I think of the heart of the home. And when I think of the heart of the home, I think of mothers. I think of moms, right? Mom is really the heart of the home. I was raised by a single mom, and so she was everything. Oh, the kids, yep, the kids. All these kids are like, let me out of here. So I've gotten used to not letting them go, and now I'm going. So anyway, the heart of the home is moms. And so as these moms, as we think of Mother's Day, and we think of all the special ladies that God has put in our life, like I said, I was raised in a single home, and so I was the youngest of 4 kids, and so I was like the second youngest in all the cousins. So I was like the runt of the runt, and I was what they call, I like to say sensitive, but they said sissy was what I think my cousins called me, and so I was what you call, that they said I was a mama's boy is what they would call that, and so my mom really was that. And so when I think of Mother's Day, I think of moms. My mom was my life as a kid, and so I understand what it means to have the love of a mother, right? Also, when you think of the heart of the home, it don't matter what I say. So I believe that I'm the head of the home, but if the heart ain't with me, we ain't doing it, right? So the other day I was traveling, and I met this guy. I've known him a little bit just through Facebook and through just conversations on the phone and stuff. Well, he's like, hey, do you have a place to stay? You guys can stay with me. And I'm like, oh, okay. I really wasn't going to do that, but he's like, well, let me ask my wife first. And I thought, whoa. I'm not going to be in a situation, because if mama don't want you there, it ain't no fun. I mean, it's like it's not welcoming. It is ice cold. I've actually been to people's houses where the husband says, hey, come on over. She won't care. If she doesn't say she better talk to you, right? And so that's where I think, I can feel those vibes, and that's where my thought process is really the heart of the home. She sets the tone and sets the temperature of the home and sets the atmosphere. If it's a place that's welcoming and warm, there's usually a mom there that's doing those things, that's making that happen. Because if it was me, I'm going to give you a Twinkie and ask you to watch TV with me. I'm not going to be, but, if you come, you're going to get a meal, you're going to make sure the bathroom's going to be clean for you, right? When I was a kid, my mom was so, if we had the plumber come over, man, we were scrubbing the toilet. We were all, that thing was, shiny clean before anybody worked on that thing. And so families do matter. And as we think of moms and we think of motherhood, that's what we're going to look today. This morning I was sharing how you remember the old albums where maybe you have them at home, you can pull them out and you see all the old pictures and just kind of seasons of life. Another way to think of this, I was thinking about this, is down my hallway there's pictures of seasons of my family, right? When they were babies, before we had kids, my wife and I were really happy and celebrating, enjoying things, and then we had kids, and then the kids ain't here. They're not. Oh, there's one. Never mind. But anyway, my kids are not in here, and so anyway, and then there's the early when they're babies and life is just busy and hectic, and then they start walking and life gets busier and more hectic, and then they become teenagers, and now they're opinionated, and it's even more busy and hectic, right? But there's seasons. It's kind of like a portrait or a frame or a theme, and that's what today we're going to walk. We're going to kind of look at Mary, the mother of Jesus. Now, we think having responsibility of motherhood is big. Imagine if you were responsible of raising the Son of God, right? That's a task. That's a task. That takes motherhood to another level, right? I mean, this is God's son. This is going to be real work. But good thing there is some connections that we can learn from, and really, hopefully, just being encouraged by. And so, when I think of motherhood, I first think of the honor of motherhood. Think of the honor of motherhood. In Luke chapter 1, verse 26, Mary, the mother of Jesus, is kind of minding her own business. And God has chosen her. We know the story, the miraculous idea that she was a virgin. She was never been with a man. She even shares that with the angel. But it says to her in verse 27 or verse 28 of Luke chapter 1, it says, and he came, speaking of the angel, came to her and said, "Greetings, O favored one." And so she thought that was a strange greeting, which it is kind of a strange greeting. And she's thinking, what is this? What does this have to do? Well, God had chosen her. And when I think of mothers and I think of motherhood, I think chosen is a good word. Chosen by God, right? She was chosen by God to bear his son. And so what an honorable situation, right? That God would choose her. And so I think of it even as mothers today, like the child that you have is precious and special and unique, and God chose you, right? God gave you that opportunity. And with that comes the weight of it, right? So Mary was thought, so he tells her what's going to happen. And then you see not only the challenge of this, but the character of Mary. You see that in verse 38 of chapter 1, where she begins to sing praises to the Lord. She begins to sing praise. She begins to accept what God said to her, knowing that it was going to be challenging and difficult, knowing that it was going to be, what he was saying, it had never been done, right? Like it had never been done, that a virgin would give birth to a baby. And she's going to, and maybe in her mind, how am I going to explain this to Joseph and all the things that was going, but what did she do? She stopped and praised God. She thanked the Lord for the challenge that she was about to face. She thanked the Lord. That showed her character. It showed who she was. It also shows her courage. Because when you are a godly woman, it's one thing to be a lady or a mother, but when you're like, no, I'm going to follow God's plan to raise my child. I'm going to try the best I can to follow God, and I'm going to take what God gives me. And sometimes those things are challenging. Some that raise children, I think of my mom raising 4 children by herself, how difficult she had it, and certain things that she had to sacrifice and do just to make things work. And of course, as a kid, I totally understood and was 100% agreeable with what she decided, right? Like I was 100% appreciative of all that she did. No, but it took courage for her. It took courage for a woman of God to say, no, this is a gift from God. This is something that God has done. And usually what happens, I think even in Mary's life, your life is going 100 miles an hour and then God gives you a baby, right? Good luck. Like our poor kids, I was going to seminary when God gave us, we were moving, we were transitioning. And so that's when their life starts, is usually in a transition of another person's life. And so, but it still is a gift. And so if we were walking down the hallway, we see the honor of motherhood. As we kind of keep going, we see the humility of a motherhood, the humility. And sometimes this can be challenging and can be difficult. And so there was now imagine raising the Son of God, and he goes missing for 3 days, right? Like that would be, who are you going to talk to, right? That seems like a pretty big deal. I think I'd feel guilty and responsible if I lost my kids for 3 days. Now, if it was the Son of God, I'd probably feel a little more, pressure in this, Great, God gives me a kid and I can't even find him for 3 days. Anyway, so it goes in Luke chapter 2, verse 41. There was a time where Jesus, so let me just read this to you in verse 41. Now his parents, Jesus' parents, went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up according to the custom. And when the feast was ended, as they were returning, the boy, Jesus, stayed behind Jerusalem. His parents did not know it. But supposing him to be with the group, they went to day's journey, and then they began to search for him among the relatives and acquaintances. So you just kind of see the date, right? Like he didn't have a cell phone. There's no one knowing. They think he's gone 3 days, and they think he's just in the group, which is kind of like, that doesn't look like great parenting to me, but like that's just my opinion, right? A different time and place. I think of us, when I think of myself as a kid, I'd leave in the morning and go play all day long until sundown, and I'd come back, right? That's kind of the idea you get here. But when they began to search among the relatives and acquaintances, and when they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem searching for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking questions. And all who heard him were amazed of the understanding and his answers. And when his parents saw him, They were astonished. And the mother said to him, Son, why have you treated us so? Behold, your father has been searching for you in great distress. And he said to them, why are you looking for me? Did you not know that I must be in my father's business? And I'd be like, okay, now it's about to be my business, my friend. I would be, I won't tell you what I would do. Again, this was a unique situation and a unique child, right? But here her humility. So this is her willingness she didn't understand. So look what she says, what happens. It says, verse 50, and they did not understand the sayings that he spoke to them. They didn't understand. And I think in any children raising, there's moments where you're just like, I just don't understand. I don't know what I'm doing, right? Do you ever feel that way? I'm sure you might, that you feel like, I just don't, am I too hard? Am I too soft? What do I need to do in this situation? And, and knowing what she knew about him, I'm sure it was even more difficult. And when he went down and said with them and came to Nazareth, he was submissive to them. So you see that he followed, he went under, he was willing to submit back under their authority, but we see that she didn't understand, and there was things that she didn't understand. What she did is she trusted in God who did understand, and she just trusted. She didn't try to pretend, so she had humility. She didn't act like she knew what she was doing. She was willing to let God be God in this situation. And I think that's a real key in motherhood, right? It's just that willingness to just say, you know what, I'm going to trust God with these children. I'm gonna let God do it. And there's things that I don't know that I think I know. I'm gonna do my best in that moment. And I think the enemy attacks us in those moments. The enemy makes you feel like you don't know, but instead of being hurt or discouraged by it, to be challenged, be encouraged and challenged to know that God is in control. And listen to what she did. It says, and it says, and his mother treasured all these things in her heart. She pondered them. She thought about them. There was a photo that went on the hallway, down the hall, right? It was in a picture album. It's on her phone. She remembered, remember when Joseph, you can see Joseph all mad and scrambling, I can just imagine that kid would be walking for a week, right? You're gone for 3 days. I remember when Aaron was a baby, my oldest, there was a time they had a little play structure in the back of the apartment. Well, he was gone for probably, I think maybe 5 minutes at the most, but it seemed like forever. Like it seemed for eternity. And then we're like, Aaron, and I see his little head pop out of the straight. Hello, Dad. Yeah, hello, Dad, you. And so those moments when you don't know what you're doing, you trust the Lord in those moments, and the humility of motherhood. And so we see that she willing to trust the Lord. And there would be later examples of this as well. But this comes also with, so as we continue on, there's the hurt of motherhood. There's some hurt. Dads sometimes, so my kids will say things to me, and I don't know if I've ever had my feelings hurt by my kids, because I'll hurt their feelings. Like, I don't know. It doesn't really, but mamas, your hearts are connected. There must be something about, carrying the baby or something. There's just an emotional connection. The kids can say something to my wife, and I'm like, I don't, but she's hurt about it. And so there comes those hurt. And so when we think of this, we see this in Luke chapter 2, verse 41. We see an event where Jesus says some things that seem very hurtful. They're very hurtful. And then it would go on that right before Mary, before she had the baby, that it was actually prophesied that her soul would be crushed. Like there would be. It says that she would have like a sword would pierce her soul. Now we know the story of Jesus. We know his birth. We know his life. We also know his death. And his mother witnessed all that. But there was a moment where Jesus was teaching, and they're like, hey, your brothers and your sisters are here. And so imagine so at this time, many people didn't really understand what Jesus was doing. He claimed to be the Son of God. He had performed miracles, but as would normally happen, that people that were closest to him had questions, right? They were like, I don't know if this is the Son of God. Well, it would later, most like his half-brothers wouldn't believe until after he rose again. And so here he's teaching, and so they say, hey, Mary, and this is in Mark chapter 3, verse 31. It says, and his mother and his brothers came standing outside and sent to him and called him. And the crowd was sitting around him, and he said to them, your mother and your brothers are outside seeking you. So they were kind of concerned. There was another situation where they were concerned. They didn't know what he was doing. They just wanted to understand. And he said, answer them, who are my mother and brothers? Like that's like, okay, that's kind of awkward, right? Like that would be a hurtful thing. And looking to them, looking about those that sat around him, he said, here are my brothers and brothers. And for whosoever does the will of God, he is my brother and my sister and my mother. And what we see is Jesus' focus and willingness to follow God. And I think that's part of the heart of the mother, that she would pour into him love and care, and so he would have confidence, and he was also being obedient to the Father and to fulfill God's will for his life. So this is how it plays out in a lot of our lives. If you start to raise your kids right, and you have a godly home, and you begin to teach them godly principles and the need, and you start loving them, there's a good chance they're going to follow God with their life. And if they're going to follow God with their life, that could very well lead them to somewhere else. We think of our own. Jordan. Jordan is, he's originally from Singapore, but he lived in Arkansas. His mom lives in Hope, Arkansas. And actually, Jordan is following God by being here. Well, guess where he's not? He's not spending Mother's Day with his mom. He's not with his mom. He's not with his family. He's here believing that God has called him. And you know what that does? That hurts. That hurts. That's a sacrifice. I remember when she came to visit, she was telling us, she said, when Jordan said that her oldest son had said that he was going to follow God, and she tried to fight it. But when Jordan told her, her baby said, hey, I'm going to go to Medford. Now, she didn't know where Medford was or anything. She's going to Oregon. But she said, I chose to, God, you know what you're going to do with him. You do what you want. And so God's blessed us, but there is a sacrifice. And so not only is there hurt, but I think of when Jesus was Jesus was just born. He was coming, and they were doing the procedures at the temple. There was a prophecy that was said that a sword will pierce your soul. Speaking to Mary, that's what Zechariah said. A sword will pierce your soul. And I think of what she went through as she saw the Son of God be betrayed and be crucified. And if you look in the scriptures, that she had a front row seat of all these events, knowing who he was, knowing how she gave birth, knowing that he was the Son of God, knowing that it was a miraculous birth, knowing all that she saw, and she would see her only son, her oldest son, be crucified on a cross in a horrific death. And really, truly, he truly is the only good kid, right? Like a lot of us think, he's a good kid and they're living like the devil. But actually, Jesus was truly good. He was truly righteous, and he was truly right, and so she saw that. One example or one moment that I kind of thought about this verse or the idea of this is when I actually was ministering to a lady that had lost her daughter, and in death. And so as I was praying with her, she was sitting there. I heard her groan or scream or moan in a way that only a mother would know. Like it was just a heart-wrenching moment. And I think of Mary and what she saw. But not only we see the honor of motherhood, we see the humility of motherhood, and there's that struggle, right? That willingness to surrender. We see the hurt of motherhood, but we also we see the hard work of a mother, right? Like this is no secret, and really it's like it's background work. You know, it's like only time that you notice that this isn't being done is when the child isn't healthy, right? Or something's not functioning properly. But the heart, it's always usually in the back, it's kind of a back seat or back in the behind the scenes kind of moment. And so we see at the wedding. So Jesus is at a wedding. It obviously must have been a family event, some connection to Jesus and to his family, because Jesus was there. This would be the first miracle that Jesus would do. And so in John chapter 2, it says in verse 3, when the wine ran out, and you know there's trouble then, right? Like there's just trouble. And so here she's in the background, she's scrambling, she's trying to take care of this, and just like moms do, right? Moms, the other day, we're going on a trip here after church, and last night and this morning, my wife, she's packing everybody, making sure everybody's got underwear. There's all kinds of events while I'm studying on the couch, right? Like drinking my coffee. You know, I got to get prepared for this stuff. But anyway, she's doing a lot of the work. I drive. Don't worry, ladies. I drive. So I'll pay for it later. But the idea is she's doing a lot of the things, because if the kids don't show up with with pants or shoes or whatever. I'm like, good luck. It's going to be cold. It's going to be tough for you. You'll remember next time. But Mama cares. And so here she was. They ran out of wine, and she obviously was motivated to tell Jesus, listen, you need to do something. So this is hard work. There's a willingness to help other people. And we see it here. And Jesus said to her, he said, woman, what does this have to do with me? My hour has not yet come. And his mother said to his servants, this is what I love. She says, do whatever he tells you to do. Do whatever he tells you to do. If that's ever something that we should all follow, is if the mother of Jesus is encouraging, listen, you do whatever he tells you to do. We know that eventually wine would be flowing, right? And the best would be the best. And most of the time they would serve the worst when everybody was drunk or didn't really care as much. And so Jesus was willing to step in, and that was because the prodding or the encouraging of his mother. But not only do we see the honor, the humility, the hurt, the hard work, but also think of the honor. The hope of the mother. The hope of the mother. And what in this situation with Mary, she, again, like I said, she would see her firstborn son die on a cross. She would witness this. But you know what? The hope with her is that he wouldn't stay dead. And that all that she had sacrificed, all that she had given, all that she had surrendered, all that she didn't know as she walks down her hallway, she sees these different stages, and she sees when the angel told her, when the shepherds came, when he would perform his first miracle, when she would remember all of those things, the things that she had treasured deep into her heart. And then she saw him be crucified. She saw him be buried. And then she witnessed him to be rose again. I'm telling you what hope she had. That God had saw her, that God had chosen her, that God loved her, that God had used her life to help grow and raise the Son of God. I mean, what an honor. And so as we think of that again, our kids are not the Son of God. I don't know if that does make them special or not. They're still treasures to us, right? But I still see this symbol. I still see the similarities in this. That what an honor it is for you to be a mom. Like the most special person in our home is the heart. And that heart is my wife, who's the mom and who cares for them, who loves them, who sacrificed more than they would ever know and loved them far more than my kids would ever understand, who's hardworking, who's a lot of times is praying for them when they don't even know, when they're sleeping, when they're worried. Her heart, when Aaron, one of my oldest, was sick, he had some health issues. It was Mama that was there making sure things. If they have to go to the doctor, it's Mama that's making sure those phone calls. Like there's something about her responsibility and what she does, and she, I believe that the heart of the home matters, and that is the mom. And so, if you want to, and this is where the challenge comes in, is my prayer for our ladies here at Living Hope Church, is that first of all you be encouraged. That you'd be like, if Mary struggled in these moments, you can take, you know what, I can struggle. There's some liberty. I think none of my kids are going to be the Son of God, thank God, right? Like, so I think I have a little lower bar, right? And so there's encouragement in that. And then when there's those moments where you don't know what you're doing, I think just trust the Lord in those moments. Let God seek the Lord, but then also the faith that it takes. That you're loving them, that you're praying for them, that you're bringing them to church, that you're trying to do what's best. You're trying to teach them right from wrong. You're trying to teach them the best you know how. You're helping them try to think through things that hopefully, and then what I would encourage you is when the moment comes, they start to get this, and they start to make their own faith decisions, when they begin to trust the Lord and begin to make the decisions of their life, that you would let God, even though it hurts you to hear. My mom was not excited when I said, hey, we're moving, I haven't lived in the same community because I've followed Christ, I believe, with my life for the last probably 20 years now, 17 years it's been since we lived in the same community as my family. The last time I had a Mother's Day with my mom was probably 15 years ago. And so the sacrifices and really knowing that, but what she tells me often is, I know you're doing what God's called you to do. And so there's that willingness. And so I just encourage you to enjoy the season that God's placed you in, no matter what season. Maybe you're just a new mother, or you're raising teenagers, or your kids are gone and now you're a grandmother. Just enjoy the season you are, and know that you're valued, that you're important, and that we love you, and we're grateful. We're grateful for the moms that God has put in this church, and I'm thankful for my mom. Got to say that because it's video recording, right? I'm thankful for my mom and my wife because I don't want to get in trouble. Remember when, Marshawn Lynch? I'm saying that so I don't get fined. I'm saying that so I don't get fined. But anyway, again, we hope that you feel loved and appreciated. We do have a rose for you. And just to remind you that we do appreciate all that you do. We hope that today's a special day for you and that you feel loved and cherished. And we just pray that you continue to raise good, godly children for His glory. Let's pray.